Welcome back to Ta-da 3D printing. So recently I posted a video of a small oven that I printed on multicolor on the A1 Mini, the Bamboo Mini, and that was just the base. So now I need to print the top of it, the grills. Normally I print the top in silver and then the grills in black. Of course, on this one I need to print the top in white. So I was trying to figure out a way to either line them up, or I really wanted to just pull them in as two separate pieces and color them differently. But I wasn't sure if I could do that with the grill, if I could figure out a way to align it up in the air, because basically the black grills would be just floating in space. Or they're gonna just pull in and not even show because they're gonna print inside of the oven top. So what I was thinking I could do would be to make a little bit of a spacer for the grill so that it would print correctly aligned in space. So I align it in Tinkercad, and then I use that same oven top to basically just create a base for it so that I can align all these together and it'll automatically be spaced how I need it. But then I realized that I might need to adjust the red base a little bit. It's going to be printing so that it's going to mess up my kind of front little notch on the oven top. And then I started thinking, well, I don't want it all black inside the oven top. I really just want the grill black. So, especially since I had such issues with the white showing. So instead, I decide that maybe I need to just create this tiny little spacer. I'm going to just scale it down a ton because I don't quite think that this one's going to work. So I make it as tiny as possible because all I really want is the spacing from it. And then I center it and make sure that it's going to all connect together and be one piece. I think this should work, so let's export it and see. I'm having a little bit of trouble with the filament on the bamboo carbon. I have some bamboo filament ordered, so I'm going to run this on the Mini because I'm not having any issues with filament on that. So I get each piece colored and I get these centered, and then I slice it and I get an error. It's saying that one of the items has an empty first layer or initial layer, which I'm sure is that black grill. I'm sure I didn't make that little spacer big enough. So rather than keep messing with that, I guess I'm going to go back to the other way of doing it and just bring it in as one piece and paint it. With all the different surfaces on those black grills, I decided that it's probably going to be easiest to just have the whole item black and then paint everything else white, and that worked out pretty well. And this print will take about 45 minutes, and I'm not getting an error anymore on this. The print goes pretty good. I didn't have any issues with color changing. But when I get it done, I realized that I forgot to scale this down. I had been using the smaller scale oven and I printed the larger scale grill. So these are not going to work together. There is a little bit of black smears on the grill too, so I just want to see how it's going to work when I scale it down to the correct size. So it's scaled down, and this will take about 18 minutes. So this is what I had, and then on the right is what I ended up with. I got the correct size, but when I scaled it down, the grills, the inner grills disappeared. So there's something with the detail that I needed to adjust. And when I go back in, I do still see the grills, so it throws me off a little bit, but when I click slice, I hadn't looked close enough. Yep, those grills disappear. So I need to adjust something. I just had it on the 0.2 layer height, so I go through and see if making a smaller layer height will help. And 0.16 isn't quite there. 0.08, I start to see the circles of the grills, but not quite enough detail. And that's the smallest layer height. So I figure there has to be some other setting that I can adjust. And sure enough, I find that there is a detect thin walls, and I change that. So now I'm still at the 0.08, and I feel like I don't really need to be that detailed. So I want to see how far out I can go on the layer height and still get the details. So 0.2, I start to kind of lose my circles, and at 0.16, it looks better, but I still don't feel like I have my circles. So the only other thing I can think of is to go back down on the layer height. So I go to 0.12. So I'm kind of in the middle, and I can completely see everything on the grills. I think they look pretty good. So let's see how this prints. For the first attempt at this, it warps off the bed and comes loose, but I'm able to get it to print again. This one doesn't warp, but I don't really like the grills. They just look kind of gappy and spotty. I just don't think that they have enough detail. But I was willing to give it another shot and see if maybe there was just an issue with that print. So I printed the exact same again, and again, it's just spotty and not solid, doesn't look good. So I went back into the slicer and I changed it back to the 0.08 layer height. And this one did not warp, and it looks a lot more detailed. It looks a lot more solid. I feel like there's just a little bit of black that ran into the white on the edges. So the oven on the left, the silver one, is how I used to make it, with 3 different parts, very obvious seam lines where I glue everything together. And it just takes a lot more work to make it this way. But I do like the way it looks. And then this is the white one that I just finished. So it is a little rougher on the front. You're not going to have that obvious door. I'd like to get rid of the textured sheet just because I don't like the way it looks. But overall, I think it looks pretty good. I think there's a little more work to do. I don't like the grills still. I feel like they're too thin compared to the older one. But overall, they're very similar. And you guys gave me a lot of ideas on the last video of how to improve it. Thanks for watching.